There is a creator on YouTube that I absolutely love. His channel name is Better Bachelor, and he goes by the name Joker on his channel. And funny enough, even though I'm the guy that like gives out dating advice and believes in love and believes it can work out, he is very much the opposite in terms of like, he's been through a divorce a couple of times. And so he tries to warn guys about, hey, this is how women can be. And if you want to date, these are things to look out for, because women can also, be terrible people and have bad personalities and stuff like that, right? So I watch his channel because I like to have that balance and stuff. I just watch everything, And so I like his stuff. I really, really like his stuff. But that said, I found that just because I like a content creator's various videos and opinions they're putting out, it does not mean I have to 100% agree with every single thing that they say. And so this particular week, I saw a video where in the first part of the video, he went over a situation that a woman had posted on TikTok with a guy that she was trying to date, and how in her video, the way this guy was asking her out, she didn't really like, so she rejected the date. Joker goes on to stop at parts and analyze her reaction and why what she was doing in his head was like completely stupid, and like she wasn't really looking at what the guy was actually trying to do and was taking the guy for granted, yada, yada, yada. I looked at his analyzation and said, but I actually agree with her. And so I wanted to point this out because it really goes into a lot of things I talk about here. It talks about the texting aspect of things and about how you go about asking a woman out, right? So I'm going to pull him up to the screen here. We're going to go ahead and hear his commentary and her commentary, and I'm going to stop along the way to give you guys my 2 cents on what's actually going on and where my viewpoint differs from Joker's. All right, let's go and get into it. By the way, Joker, again, I love your stuff, so don't take any of this personally.
She meets a guy out in the real world, and I want you to see how women can twist something into a negative that could be a learning moment for themselves. Interestingly enough, though, the response from the guy shows he understands the game.
Okay, so as far as we know, what he's going to say is that his response is the correct one because this guy knows what he's doing, and she is completely crazy for her response. All right, let's get into it.
And he's got better things to do than play the game.
This is how you do not plan a freaking date. I had been on one date with this man. I think this guy is great. I had such a nice time with him. We had so much fun.
By the way, I cut this part out, but Joker in this video is like, she talks like this, and she's on the up with the end of her sentences. That is very much a California thing, and I hate when I hear it. I can imagine I probably slip into it sometimes too, so let me know if I do, but like, it is pretty annoying. Okay.
A week or so later, he finally texts me and is like, hey, are you free Sunday for brunch? I'm like, yeah, great. That's
all right. So let's set the scene, right? He reached out and said, hey, are you free Sunday for brunch? She says, yes. That's all that happened. So he didn't set a time. He didn't set a restaurant. He just said, hey, you're free? Sure. And then left it at that. So I'm going to tell you guys, for some of you, this is something you're actually doing that is causing you to not get dates, is that you are trying to do basically like the 3 sale setup where it's like, hey, do you want to go out sometime? Yeah, sure, it'll be fun. Okay, great. And then you're hoping, okay, I'll ask her later what the actual date is. And the next time you reach out to her, hey, so let's do the date. And what do you want? All that stuff, right? This is why I teach you guys, if you're going to ask a woman on a date, at the point where you first ask for the date, you should be getting down all the details on that first text. You should not be saying, hey, you want to go on a date, and then making her wait X amount of time before you actually ask for the date with more details. Like, that's not fair to them, and that does not make you look like a guy that is decisive and masculine. All right, continuing on.
Saturday night, he sends me this text. Are you still up for brunch? Yes, I'm still up for brunch.
Pause. So he already asked her if she wants to do brunch. And her response was, yes, I want to do brunch. So then his next text to her almost a week later is like, so you still want to do brunch? Now, let me ask you a question. Does that, to you, project off a guy that is secure in his ability to attract women and keep him on their mind? To me, what this reads at is a guy that is insecure and is anxious and doesn't think highly enough of himself to think that a woman would actually want to keep a date with him. Like, he's thinking, well, just because she said, yes, she wants to do the date, things could have changed. She could have changed her mind. Or maybe she decided, I'm not for her. that is not you walking into asking for a date with confidence. And so you could be losing out on women simply because you have this kind of attitude where it's like, I don't want to hurt her feelings. And if I'm a burden to her, I don't want her to have to say yes to a date and then keep it with me. So I'm going to just ask again, you sure you want to do the date? But just doing that action could give her the ick, could give her the feeling of like, oh my God, this guy's not as confident as I thought he was. And now I'm just suddenly not feeling that I want to go out because you projected out that you don't think she actually wants to do it. Anyway, let's see what Joker thought about that.
Just trying to solidify the plans. If I ask somebody to do something on Sunday and it's Monday or Tuesday, Friday or Thursday, I'll hit him up and say, hey, we still doing that on Saturday? And yeah, he'd be like, yeah.
Now, that could be the way that he goes about things with his guy friends, and that's totally fine. The way in which you communicate with your guy friends and pals and or people you've known for a long time is different from the things you're trying to convey to a woman when you're asking her out for those first few times. When you are asking a woman out for those first few times, the worst thing you could do is look like you're apprehensive or unaware. So he's saying, well, I mean, he said a week ago that, you know, he wants to go out. And so he's just hitting up to solidify. What I'm saying is I've literally asked women on dates and said, hey, first, when I first contact them, I'm saying, hey, so I want to take you out. Okay, that's great. Fantastic. So I want to do this activity at this time. Let me know if you're free. I'm totally free. Great. So I'll say, assuming that, you know, the world doesn't end or nothing cataclysmic happens, I will see you at this day, at this time. I am not in the habit of reconfirming dates. So what I find is that usually the day before, a woman will hit me up. Hey, are we still on? And my response in my head is like, I set the date. I put aside time to spend money on you and spend time. How would I forget about the date? So, but because I walk like that, I don't feel the need to have to reconfirm a date with a woman. But more importantly, I'm not saying a week in advance, hey, do you want to go on a date next Sunday? Okay, sure. And then leaving her hanging for a week. I am saying at the point that she says yes, saying, great, I have this idea. We're going to do it this time. Let me know if you're free. Great. I'm totally free. Fantastic. See you that day. If you set all the stuff up when you first contact her, you don't have to worry about having to give her a reconfirmation text later on because I want to make sure to forget. You'll have all the plans, and women, they have memories like elephants. They will not forget that they had a date with you unless they're not highly interested. Clearly, this woman said she still remembered that they had a date, so she was already highly interested. Everything this guy did after he first asked her out is now wasted time because she already agreed to the date. And I get in his head, he's thinking, but what if she changed her mind? This speaks to a guy that has had bad dating experiences with women that cancel or flake. Spoiler, guys, that's going to happen in the dating world. That does not mean you change up your tactics. If I asked a girl out this week and then last minute she canceled or flaked because I didn't reconfirm, I wouldn't try to confirm for the next woman I dated. I'd be like, okay, she wasn't interested because women that have high interest will keep the dates. And I would move on to the next one who, surprise, surprise, would remember that we had a date, regardless of how far in advance we set it up, and we could go out and have a good time. Anyway, continuing on.
Could come your way if you know a...
Oh, wait, I'm going back. This is important for you guys to hear. Okay, here we go.
Okay. And yeah, he'd be like, yeah.
I could come your way if you know a good spot. Okay, let me do the heavy lifting for you, buddy.
He didn't ask for you to make the arrangements. He didn't ask for her to call and make reservations. He didn't ask for you to pay for it. He asked, I could come your way if you know a good spot, meaning you don't have to drive out here in my neck of the woods. I'll come to you and make it easier on you. How about you choose some place that you like? If you know a good spot for brunch, hey, let's go for it. Like your lady's choice. And she finds a way to make that negative and calls it heavy lifting.
So I'm glad he said all that because that is a very logical man way of thinking about dating. And it's something that I used to do and that some of you guys do too. You're thinking logically, okay, I want to take her out. So in order for her to have the best time possible, I want to make it super easy for her to do this date. And so that means one, I need to make sure that it's a place near her. And then two, to make sure that she's going to like the place, why don't I just let her pick it? Because that way, if she picks the place, she can't have a bad time. It'll reflect great on me and all will be well. So that is the guy logic version of that situation, which is why I understand why Joker would think that way. But unfortunately, you forget one part, which is that women are looking at different things as it pertains to dating. So, for example, let's say he picks a place that he thinks she won't like, right? For the woman, more often than not, it's not necessarily about if you pick the exact right place in order to make sure she has a good time. It's more so the actual action of, oh, this guy made a plan. Oh my God, this guy actually picked a place for us to go, picked the time of day. He already sussed out the menu, so I know what's going to be there. And all I got to do is show up and look pretty. Like, the action of planning is the masculine part that women want to see. Also, to a point, like, women don't need you to necessarily plan something that they're going to actually want to do. Like, I know that doesn't make sense, right? But it's like, here's the thing. He's thinking, okay, if she picks out the place that she already likes, then we'll have a good time. Women want new experiences, good or bad. So let's say you go to you pick a restaurant and the food's horrible, the service is bad, what is that? The worst case scenario that happens for women that has high interest in you is, we now have a good story to tell at our wedding. Oh, that second that we went on is like totally awful, but you know what? We still had a good conversation. He made it really funny and playful, and I just fell so much in love with him because he was able to take that horrible restaurant service experience and turn it into something like absolutely great. And so, again, women are looking at different metrics. So you being logical, thinking, okay, if I don't take her to the exact place she wants to go to, and if I make her drive over to me versus go over to her or meet me someplace, then she's going to have a bad time and judge me. But she's going to judge you, not because of that stuff, but because you're asking her. You're the guy that's trying to impress her, and you're asking her where you should be, where you guys can go. Like, to her, it's going to feel like you're saying, hey, so I want to take you on a date, but you need to tell us where to go, and we need to do it near your place, and you need to tell me what's going to make you most happy, and we'll be good to do that. Like, I know the guy's thinking, I'm doing her a favor by trying to help her by choosing a place, but that reads to women as low effort. And I had to learn this too. Hey, I was the guy, hey, so I can come to your side of town, we can do what you want to do. And it just drives women up because it's like, it's not doing the masculine things they want to see from us. And you know what I'll do? Let's say I wanted to make sure that wherever we ate was near her side of town. I would even ask her. I would say, okay, I want to keep the date near her place because if things go well, things can go better. I will go ahead, and if I already know what part of town she's in, I will look up of my own accord restaurants or other activities that are nearby the part of town that she lives in, and then say, hey, we're going to so-and-so place, it's near you, so meet me there. Boom. Then even if I am trying to say I'm going to go to her part of town, I'm still doing the planning. We have Google Maps and Yelp. It is not hard to figure out what restaurants are nearby a person, all right? And again, you ain't got to pick out, well, if I don't pick the exact one that she likes, or if I don't pick one that she's been to before, she's been there before. She don't want to go. She wants to go to a new place. She wants to experience new things. She doesn't want to have to say to her girlfriends, oh, well, we went to that same old bar that I always go to with you guys on the weekend. Like, that's not going to be fun for her. Versus, we went to this place I've been wanting to go to, or this strange place I hadn't heard before, but it was really interesting. Like, that's a better story and a better experience for women than just what this guy thinks he's doing as a nice guy, which is, I'll just let you pick the place so you'll have a good time. It's not about the place necessarily. I mean, some women will be about, I need to go to a 5-star. You don't date those women. But the ones that are just like, just pick a place, dude. For them, it's more about the experience of you picking a place and about them getting to know you at that place. All right. So that's where Joker has that wrong. Continuing. So he said, pick a place, your side of town, blah, blah, blah.
So I give him a list of these places. He says, oh, the Dutch Eye.
So just to recap, even though you can tell she's annoyed by the fact that he's asking me where I should pick us a place to go. Crap. You know what? Fine. I don't want to be disagreeable. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Send them some places. Right? Anyway, so, and then he responds with this thing. So you guys hear that one more time, that little part right there, what he says.
Places, he says, oh, the Dutch Eye. Not even sure what that means. So then
she says, I've been dying to try Comfort and Floyd, the Dutch, or El Puerto de Loreto. And she says, not sure if any take reservations, etc. Now he says, oh, the Dutch Eye. A-Y-E, not E-Y-E. Now, A-Y-E means yes. For those of you that are older than 14 and know anything about English history or the English language, or I guess that would be Scottish, Irish, I don't know. They just hear a lot of, I am big ora, right? So she says it's a negative.
So he goes into the thing about saying like, well, I'll let him get to it, but he goes more extensively into like the whole like the Dutch, this and that. I studied English in school, in high school, in college. I would, if somebody had sent me that message, I'd have been like, what does that mean? Like, you sound like a pirate for one, but also like, but is this a yes or a no? Like, what does that mean? Are you cool with what I picked out or not? Like, I don't know. And I was a honor scholar in college. I still don't get that. So, but he's judging her based on the fact that, I mean, he already views her as like kind of stupid. So it's like, you should know this. Spoiler, not everybody knows what these things mean or words mean, you know?
Of these places, he says, oh, the Dutch I.
Now, he said 2 O's. Now, I know this is like boiling everything. It's like boiling stones. But this stuff matters when you're trying to communicate. O-O-H is not O. O-O-H, what he sent is O or ooh. The Dutch, I. He's saying, oh, the Dutch. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. But what she could have done.
Wait, so, but that's the point, right? He says to him, his interpretation of what this guy said is, oh, the Dutch, I, right? But it's through text message. Get the book, guys. Get the book. Because this is an example of what I'm talking about. The fact that he is trying to tell her she should have interpreted this a certain way based on how he's reading it versus we don't know what her experiences is. We don't know if like, you know, for example, my mom, anytime I have good news, right? The proper response would be, yay, that's great. Like Y-A-Y. My mom texts back Y-E-A, which is, yeah, that's great. Different tone, right? Now, because I know my mom, I know what she's trying to say. Somebody that does not know how my mom talks through text might read like, yeah, that's great. I mean, I thought it'd be a little more excited than just that, but I know what she's trying to say, even though it still reads like, yeah, that's great. So we can't assume that everybody reads and interprets text the same way, which is why you should not be texting all that much because texting kills attraction. Texting can cause misinformation. With text, you're not going to necessarily be able, you're thinking when you send the text, you're sending off a particular tone with that text, and she could be not getting the joke, not understanding what the text is supposed to be. She might not know that to her, O-O-H could be like, oh, versus he's thinking, no, it means ooh. But again, it's a misinterpret. It's going to be misinterpreted because it's through text. There's no tone to that. And somebody could very read it as like, oh, they could read it as like you mistyped it. You meant to just do OH. Like, you don't know. But so for him to say like, she should just understand. No, she shouldn't. Like, this is why I typically err on the side of like, I use texting specifically to ask for dates. I make everything crystal clear as I possibly can when I'm asking for that date. I don't try to do extra jokey stuff or things that I know could be misinterpreted based on how they're being said. I save most of my conversations for in-person dates. But because this guy messed up already by not trying to preemptively like get the details for the date on day one, he now has to go through this conversation that is causing her confusion. Anyway, continuing on.
Is replied to him saying, is that good? Is that a negative? Do you want to try it? Did you want to pick something like?
No, that's not her job. Like he's saying, well, if she didn't understand what he was saying, she should just call him or text him. For all we know, she could have been like, oh, the Dutch A, okay. And then waiting for like what the next thing's going to be. Like, is he going to clarify what this means? I don't know what's going on, but it's not her job to have to try to ask questions. Like it'd be nice if she did, but it's the guy's job. Really, it's both people's job to be as clear as possible with their communication. This guy's all over the place with his communication, and he's not being direct with what he wants, and he's trying to put things onto her. And now he's saying, oh, the Dutch, eh? And like, what the freak is that supposed to mean? So like, no, he should have been more clear in his conversation. Also, he shouldn't be trying to be flirty with her or trying to build rapport with her on a text when he's trying to get a date. He should be talking about things as it pertains to getting the actual date and not try to do this other stuff that's going to cause confusion.
Normal human people do. It's called a conversation. You could pick up the phone and say, hey,
not our job.
I wasn't sure. Now, he could have done the same.
He could have.
He thought she...
Because he's the one asking for the date. So of the two of them, if he was apprehensive, he could have called. But again, a lot of this could have been prevented had he already set up all the date details when he first reached out to her a week ago.
Probably read his text okay, so he didn't read into it too much. And she left him on read.
That's what the interpretation is. And hey, we could say, hey, she didn't respond back to him. But realistically, with that kind of text, I'd have been sitting there like, so what does that mean? Like, I'll wait for him to say, okay, that's cool. She gave him what he was asking for. She gave him a list of places she wanted to try. So she's probably waiting for him to say, after the Dutch A, you know what? This restaurant will be great. And he couldn't even do that. Like, he still didn't, like, he's probably waiting for her to say, well, which one of those three do you want to do? Like, this is what's so frustrating about, like, this is why I have to teach guys how to text and how to ask for dates and things, because this is stuff that to me now seems like second nature. But again, I remember back in the day when I'd be doing these exact same things. I was so worried about, like, I didn't want a woman to know how much I liked her. And so I would just be like, well, what do you want to do? Well, are you sure you want to do this? Well, can I pick you up now, princess? And again, that kind of behavior isn't showing masculinity, and it is causing you to lose women. I got a whole book at my website called Stop Losing Women. Get that book also.
She didn't reply.
So then that morning, I get a text from him. Howdy, how does two sound? I never heard back from him the night before.
She says,
she's right. At no time did he actually pin down a time. He didn't pin down a time when he first contacted her. He didn't try to pin down a time in the night before text. Like, he could have said, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? Great, what's a good time? Didn't even ask that. So now it's the day of, and he's thinking, well, she already agreed to the date, so she'll be good at any time. I have told women, look, I mean, for one, I typically tend to set dates, but I'm like, if a woman's like, hey, I want to treat you to the beach tomorrow, my first thing is like, great, what time are we going? Because I'm not going to be the guy that's going to sit there like, I mean, she said we're going to go on a date today, so I hope at some point it happens. So why would you do that to women? Like, you should already be coming in with all the stuff, place, time, location, etc. Like, all that stuff is your job. So to be like, I'm going to ask her on a date, but I'm going to make her wait a week before I actually plan what the date is. And then on that day, I'm going to wait till the next day to actually, like, give her a time. You are a guy that does not know how to ask women out. So yeah, is it any wonder that she would then complain about how you're doing it? So in this case, again, Joker is wrong. I get it. He's viewing the woman as like dumb and stupid, and she has other TikToks that would make that argument more palatable. But like in this case, how she's being asked out by this guy is completely lame in all sense of the word.
I didn't hear back from him the night before. She left him unread. She read his message. She responded with nothing.
Because his initial text was bullcrap, and he didn't follow up with, yeah, that place sounds great. Hey, let's do this time, which is what she was probably waiting for.
Now, as most dating coaches, guys, men's content creators tell you, it's like a game of tennis. You put the ball in their court, they put it back, at least when you're initially starting to date. Because if you keep sending, tennis balls at them, they're going to feel overwhelmed and run away.
Now, that is true, but a couple things here. For one, look at the fact that she double texted up here earlier. And then more importantly, his response back to her was a jokey-ish text that didn't actually confirm anything. So he sent the text, oh, the Dutch A? What was she supposed to say next to that? Haha, that's funny. So which one do you want to do? Like, it's like he wants her to pull teeth to get a date, location, and time out. And that is not her freaking job. You want to ask her out. You set the details. You make it as easy as possible for her to understand what you want to do. This isn't about you doing what you think she wants to do. You're about getting her someplace where, okay, admittedly, you want to take her to a place where you think you guys are going to both have a good time. But the more important exercise is trying to see if she's going to follow your lead. This is how, for all you guys that want to see if you're going to get a submissive woman, it starts with this. When you lay out a plan for a date, does she say yes to it and give you no fight back? She was trying to let this guy do all the planning and give no fight back. And he wants to say, but you plan the date, but the Dutch eye. I'm like, it's too much work. Can you just plan a date and let her show up and look pretty? It doesn't have to be that hard.
So he replied back, and then he didn't hear anything, and he didn't say anything. But she's going to say, he didn't say anything more, so it's his fault. She left him unread.
I heard back from him the night before, so what do I say? Oh, when I didn't hear back last night about a reservation or anything concrete, I made plans for this afternoon. You cannot, for a second date, try and make plans the morning of. So what is his response?
He didn't
Facts.
make the plans the morning of.
Yes, he did.
He made it a week ago.
No, he didn't.
And then he reminded you the day before.
No, he didn't. What he did was he said a week ago, he suggested, hey, we should go on a date. And she was like, hey, that's great. And then he waited a week to get back to her. So in that time, she already had in her head, he said we're going to go out on Sunday, so I'm going to leave Sunday open. At no time during the week did he actually reach out and say, hey, let's do a thing. And then when he did reach out, he said, hey, so are we still on? So already bad sign, because he didn't forget about the date. Why would she forget about the date? And so she's like, yeah, dude, we're still freaking on. What's going on? At which point he's like, okay, well, where do you want to go? So all he did was suggest that a date should happen and then say, you plan it out. Like, I know Joker's saying he didn't say you plan it out, but that's what he did. He said, you pick the place and we can go there. And then even in that, when she said, here's some places, he didn't clarify and say, great, let's do this place. He just said the Dutch eye, which she's supposed to just get. And so at no time was his communication to her crystal clear, or more importantly, not crystal clear. It wasn't easy enough for her to believe that either a date was going to happen or that she wasn't wasting her time just sitting around with her thumbs twiddling. Hey, as a guy, I've had times where like this. I remember, I like to tell this story before. I had the opportunity to see Prince back in 2011 when he was coming to the Forum. I lived across the street from the Forum. He was doing $25 concerts. There was a girl that I wanted to take, and I said, hey, I want to take to this thing. And she said, okay, cool. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to go or not. So I'll let you know. This was like, I asked her like on a Wednesday. I'll let you know by Sunday if I can go or not. So I just sat around and waited because I'm thinking she's gonna tell me when I can talk to her. Sunday comes, she didn't reach out. I reached out to her on Monday. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to make it. And by that time, all the tickets were sold out. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Well, I guess I'll catch Prince the next time he comes to California. He's dead now. I never saw him. Why? Because somebody wanted to be flaky with times and be wishy-washy. This guy was being wishy-washy. So no, I don't think she should have waited around for him to decide when he wanted to suggest a time. He should have, when he first contacted her, said, hey, I want to take you out next Sunday. That'd be great. Fantastic. I know a couple places around town. I'll pick you up at 2:00. Sounds wonderful. That would have curtailed any of this from happening. Like none of this shit would have happened if he would have just known from the jump to plan the date, but he didn't. And so to call her out and say she's doing a bad thing by all of a sudden saying she wants to go out someplace else because he didn't make a concrete time, he didn't choose a concrete time. So that's what he gets.
And then he offered to come to you and he offered to let you pick the place. Like,
that's the thing. He keeps saying he offered. He didn't need to make that offer. She didn't want that offer. She wanted a guy that knew what he wanted and was willing to say, hey, I want to take you out. I found some places near you. There's this restaurant I want to try out. I'm going to take you there. She wanted a guy that's she's able to follow his leadership and that she's able to actually see him make choices about things and then just go with the flow. What I talked about earlier in the show, women want to be able to go with the flow. You trying to get them to do all the work and plan all the things and figure out the restaurant. Like that's not her going with the flow. That's her having to now plan things. And it's not to say that women won't ever do that, but you need to go on a couple of dates before she starts suggesting things and planning things on her own. So she doesn't want those offers. She wants a guy that's going to come by, swoop her off her feet, take her someplace, and not ask her what her opinion is. And so many guys get tripped up in the dating world because they think, I got to ask her opinion in order for her to want to do things. No, more often than not, I have found in my personal dating life that women actually would prefer that you make all the decisions. They go to work, their brains are tired all day from making decisions, and not that you as a guy don't make decisions all day at work too, but our brains are set up to be workhorses. Theirs are designed to be a little more laid back. So even though in the 21st century, they're working more, that does not mean they want to do that. So they get home, they are tired, their brains are fried. They want to be able to have you hit them up and say, hey babe, I'm going to take you out. Just put on some nice shoes and a dress and I'll show you the world. That's what they want. So when you don't give them that, is it any wonder that they're going to not want to do the date anymore?
Being a gentleman, because you misunderstood a response, you left him on red. And then when he followed up and said, well, how about 2?
But he followed up the next day. If he was going to follow up, because I know he said earlier, dating coaches, they don't double text. Well, he technically triple text here because he texted her and then waited until the next day to give her the concrete plans of 2. So he could have said after, the Dutch A, so how does 2:00 work? He could have sent that. Been simple. She double texted earlier. It was totally fine for him doing in that case. And yet, lo and behold, he's going to blame the woman. And it's like, but all of his communication on this was bad. It was horrible. It was horrific. It was terrible. He does not know how to text. He needs my book. He needs to learn to be more confident when he's asking women out and be okay with just planning the darn thing and not asking for her input.
Because he didn't hear anything from her the night before. Now she's like, oh, when I didn't hear anything back, I made plans for this afternoon.
So what is his response? Okay, cool. He, I think, got the point. You missed out is what happened. Sorry.
His response to her was, okay, cool. Not, how dare you? What did I do wrong? You're such a witch. You're all these off. No, he's just like, okay, cool. And in his mind, he's thinking, I avoided a problematic person. But instead of learning a lesson out of this, she says he learned a lesson. Don't talk to me. Don't treat me. Don't do that. She twisted everything he did. And you hear the lie in her own words, because she said it was last minute. He didn't follow up. He tried to make it hard on her. This is why she's still single at the tender age of 38. And she will continue to be like this until she's single with cats.
Now, I will say, based on her other videos, it does seem like she could potentially be a difficult person to date. So I will not fault Joker for saying that because I've seen her channel. But in this instance, all the things that he thought he was doing to try to attract her and to try to be in her good graces and show that he's a gentleman are things that women do not ever need you guys to do. They don't need you to get their input on a date you're taking them on. They don't want to have to wait eons for you to just put a date idea out there. And more importantly, when you first contact them, that's when you plan all the stuff. So I've just learned in my personal dating life, you get a lot more results if when you're texting a woman, you say, hey, so I want to see if you're free for a date this week. Let me know what's up. Oh yeah, I'm free. Okay, great. I want to do this and this and this and this. Like, you should always have a plan of action ready to go, because women find that more of a turn on than they ever will with you asking them, so what do you want to do? Hey, let's go to that spot that you already like, that you've been to 1,000 times, that's not new, so we can have a good time. They don't want that. And I think, again, I really like Joker stuff. Like, most of his channel, I say about 85 to 90% of his stuff, I am like perfection. But this one, Joker, sorry to say, bud, you got it wrong.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a